Welcome back. And coming up next on Question Time, we'll be keeping an eye on aviation safety in Nigeria. The Director General of the NCAA, Captain Usman MUHKTAR, is still with us. Don't go away. What's responsible for this airlines suspending international operations? As we speak, none of them are operating internationally. What's responsible for this?
Well, again, that is a business decision, and that's why we need a very strong and viable airline, because aviation is international.
Don't you think it also has a far-reaching impact on airline regulation, which is under your purview?
No, but others are operating under the same regulations, and they are not following up. So there's more to it than regulation. The regulation has not hampered any operator from operating. But whoever is going to operate must operate within the regulations, because those regulations are international in nature, they are standards.
People feel that if we get it right with the national carrier, it would also assist the aviation sector in general. And there is a big question here that the aircraft lease, purchase, acquisition did not go through the board and management of the national carrier, that this is strictly a government affair. What's your response to this?
Well, again, as I said, the transaction advisor has been appointed to manage this transaction, and also that transaction advisor is working along.
People are also alleging that the political space is extended into the aviation space, that the national carrier could be a political agenda.
Well, my response is that we don't play politics with people's lives. So this has nothing to do with politics. The government is doing what the populace would like to have. And that is why the yearnings from the people is that they should have something strong, something that they can call truly theirs. And that is why the government feels that this should be done, but not to do with any politics, as far as I know.
It seems the local airline operators are groaning hard, and one of their complaints borders on partial treatment. They believe the foreign airline operators control most of the traffic, and that there is a bit of imbalance in this regard.
Well, again, I will still go back to the bilateral service agreements that we have signed, and that gives equal opportunity, reciprocity, also in whatever is the provision, and it's for us to take advantage rather than complain. So,
what kind of advantage will be taken by this?
By providing the service, and competing with the international.
Is the federal government providing an enabling environment for this local airlines to thrive? Because that's one of their complaints.
Well, I have not seen that complaint, because nothing has been specified. They keep talking about charges and so on. The charges are international in nature. They are the same almost everywhere. It's not free. It's a business. And whatever you consume, you must, once the service is given, people should be ready to pay the services given to them.
Now let's talk about the rules of engagement now in flight operations. There are still lots of complaints about people dropping the ball. We've had ridiculous complaints about even pilots flying under the influence of alcohol. I'm sure this has come to your notice. So what are you doing to put a stop to this?
Well, certainly there are provisions in our regulations to ensure that the pilot does not drink or does not fly under the influence of any substance, whether alcohol or any other substance of abuse. And we follow up by regular checks. And in the course, yes, we found some that ran foul of the law, and in line with our regulations, they were sanctioned appropriately, which will, in most cases includes psychiatric and also other punitive measures, just to ensure that people do the right thing.
Are you thinking of introducing a kind of test exercise for the pilots before flying the plane? Because this is people's life we're talking about.
Yeah, it was in the course of those tests. We have it in place. We've been doing those tests. It's in the course of doing those tests that we were able to find some, and they were dealt with in accordance with our regulations. Yes, we have it in place, and we have done it, and we'll continue to do.
Let's come back to the issue of this national carrier. We understand a lot of bidding is going on. Which of the airlines are likely to get this slot?
Well, again, I'm not able to say much on that because that will be the duty of the transaction advisor and probably from the Minister of Aviation.
You don't have any dealings with the transaction advisors in any way?
We have a task force which is purely advisory. It's not to help in implementing anything. It's just to ensure that the right things are done. That's why we're in the task force.
Now let's come back to air safety in its entirety now. Though there's no clear major mishap on record in the last 3 years, but people still believe the situation still runs far from international standard. What's your assessment about air safety in Nigeria?
Well, first of all, I would say air safety in Nigeria is of the highest standards. That we didn't record any accident is because we have been working very hard behind the scene. A lot of things that we do, people don't get to see. It's only the result that they get to see. Fortunately, the result has been good in the last 3 years as far as Nigeria is concerned. Others did not have it good. We target 0 accidents, 0 fatalities, and also 0 tolerance to breaking of our own regulations. So those are the, if you want to call them, the magic behind the success that we have been able to record. So it's not by fluke, it's by design, and we will continue to work to ensure that air safety in Nigeria remain as high as possible.
Well, you've recorded some pockets of emergency landing, which is a bit of a low watermark in this call sheet.
Yeah, well, you are bound to have occurrences. Sometimes you have incidents, sometimes you have serious incidents.
Is it normal to have emergency landing?
We've called it emergency. But, however, the aircraft is designed to be able to handle emergencies. We're taking into consideration things that could possibly happen. The pilots that are operating those aeroplanes are also trained to handle such emergencies. So emergencies do happen. Once in a while you have urgencies or priorities and so on. But so whatever you do in life, there's nothing perfect, really. But if the aircraft does what it's designed to do, the pilot also is able to do what he's trained to do. In most cases, we have a happy ending.
Well, how do you see the future of aviation in this country before we wind down on this conversation?
Well, it's very bright. We have a very vibrant aviation industry. A lot of reforms are already coming into the aviation. The national airline that you have been talking about is one major. The maintenance, repair, and overhaul centers, another. The concession of airports in order to increase the capacities and efficiencies and so on. The modernization of the airspace, improvement on the navigation, communication, and also the surveillance. So the future is very bright in Nigeria, and Nigerian aviation is a place that any right-thinking investor can come comfortably and invest and expect good returns.
The Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Usman, MUHKTAR, thank you so much for making our time to be part of this episode of Question Time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Manga.
And that's it on this episode of Question Time from Channels TV Global Headquarters, Lagos. Have you flown lately? What's been your recent experience? Send us a comment on our social media platforms shown right on your screen. Join us next week for a fresh episode of the show. Many thanks for watching. I'm Benga Ashuru. Bye for now.